Game, remember them? They were a very big name on the UK high street. I've got a bit of a checkered past when it comes to games. See, I used to work for Gamestation, and if you're not from the UK, maybe you're not familiar with either of those. Game is the equivalent of GameStop in the US, and Gamestation was its main competitor. And in my opinion, and I am biased here, they were 10 times better than Game. Gamestation was generally run by people who understood customers and what they wanted. Game, on the other hand, they kind of run by people who, in my opinion, don't know anything about video games, or at least they used to be. I don't know if they still are. When I worked for Gamestation, they were really good to us in terms of like benefits and things. The discount was good. We used to get regular game nights that were paid for by the company. And I say regular, I mean like once every week or 2 weeks, we were given an allowance. I forget how much it was. I think it depended on how many people went to the game night. But we used to go to our manager's house and we would get our food paid for us. We could obviously take games from the store. We'd set up Rock Band and everything, and we'd play that for a good few hours, and it would be all paid for by the company. They were bonding experiences more than anything else, but it was good fun. And sometimes we went over to other stores. We were good friends with Cardiff and the Pontypridd store, and they had much better facilities to accommodate a games night, so we would have it there at the store. There would be boxes and boxes of pizza. We'd be playing games all evening. It was a good laugh. Not sure if Game ever had that, but by the by, we were always told to not like Game. They were the competitor at the end of the day, so we always disliked them. Unfortunately, Game acquired Gamestation. That's right, the unthinkable happened. That's when Gamestation completely went downhill. By the by though, we were told that nothing would change. When Game took over, we were told it was going to be run exactly the same, nothing would change, and to just carry on as normal. That lasted for about 4 days, I think, and then the till system changed. We moved over to like cards for trading and stuff. They weren't terrible changes, but that was the start of it. And you pretty much know the rest. They completely absorbed Gamestation, closed them down where Gamestation and Game were in the same town. I worked in the Caerphilly store, which at the time didn't have a Game, it just had a Gamestation. So they shut down Gamestation, rebranded as Game, and carried on as normal. I didn't work for them then, I left before it ever became Game. But I got a job more or less opposite in JD Sports, and I watched this happen before my very eyes. And it was a very sad sight. Until the point, of course, where Game have now completely gone from the high street as independent stores, more or less anyway. There are a few dotted around, but they are slowly but surely disappearing, and they're being pigeonholed into the back of Sports Direct. You go into nearly any Sports Direct these days and you will see one lonely counter surrounded by 4 games, 27 plushes and 13 board games right at the back, and it is a very, very sad thing to see. Do you know what's even more sad? The only remaining selling point of Game, the only remaining reason to go to Game, in my personal opinion, is the 3 for 2. It's not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have some positives. Obviously, the main standout one is you can get 3 games for the price of 2, but I used to use it, and I have done in the series that I run where I build up a video game collection, where you can buy 3 games for like 20 quid. Go to CEX, for example, and trade them in for like 30. I think at one point I spent maybe 18 and I got like a £36 trade. So that's a double up. That's really good. And you can't get that all the time, and you do have to sift through a lot of games to get the ones that are trading in for more than you can buy them for. It's not for the faint of hearted, because you will have to stand there and scan a lot of games, but it is doable. Or rather, it was doable, because it's not doable anymore, or at least it won't be. From February the 16th, Game are not accepting trade-ins anymore. Now, I was told this by a Game employee who privies me to some information every now and again. He sent me a message and he told me that this was happening. I searched online and I found absolutely no evidence of it. Now, I didn't not believe him. I couldn't answer him because I'm not able to on that platform at the moment, unfortunately. So if you are watching, I do appreciate the information. I just could not reply to you. But I couldn't find any information, and I wanted to do a video there and then about it, but I didn't have anything to add to it. All I had was that information. I didn't have why or when or anything like that, so I couldn't. And then yesterday they dropped articles on Eurogamer and all the rest of it saying that this was going to happen, so here I am. So all we know so far really is that they will stop taking trade-ins on the 16th of February. They will then sell off all their remaining pre-owned. Now whether they'll sell it off cheaper, I don't know. I've not been told that, and I can't see that anywhere in any of these articles. All I know is they've said that they're just going to sell off all the pre-existing pre-owned that they have in the company. Now knowing Game, they won't do it cheaper. They'll just keep it as a 3 for 2, and once it's gone, it's gone. I will definitely be keeping a close eye on it though, because I will be very interested to ransack the pre-owned section in Game should prices come down. Game have never been very big on pre-owned. Even when I worked in Gamestation, they were quite reluctant to stock pre-owned. I mean, I'm not reluctant in the sense that they wouldn't take certain things, like they don't want to take it because they don't want to stock it. They never really go past a generation. So for example, if you walk into a game today, you can only really find Xbox One and PS4 as well as PS5 and Series X games. You won't find anything back, and again, Switch is the only Nintendo items you'll find, video game wise anyway, in a game store. And I'm going back to like 2008 to 2012 era, but Gamestation always stocked older stuff. You know, we have GameCube as well as, you know, Xbox 360, and then eventually, even when Xbox One games came out, they were still stocking GameCube games. Like, okay, there weren't very many of them because people weren't willing to trade them in, but you could still buy them.
Hate being reminded you could have bought your game cheaper pre-owned? Then go to Gamestation, you ninny, and pay less for top-notch games. Shut up! Yes, pre-owned at Gamestation.
Game just didn't do that right from the get-go. They just sort of knocked it on the head straight away, and then they started bringing in a lot of things like plushes and board games, knickknacks, Funko Pops, for example. And of course they do like tablets and phones and things, which I don't know an awful lot about, but from what I can gather, they don't do it particularly well. Not here to necessarily badmouth Game, because this is a very sad thing that's happening. For physical collectors in particular, this is the end of the line for Game. I genuinely don't understand how they're going to sustain this model, because it was always told to us when I worked for Gamestation that new brought in almost no money. I think they made like 5% on consoles, and I might be wrong in saying that. Probably has changed since then, because that was a long time ago, but the money was in the pre-owned. If you sell a new game, awesome, obviously they're going to make a little bit from it, but they weren't really making much at all. The pre-owned is where it was at. They were taking 100% of the profit from that, and that's why they were stocking pre-owned. That's why we gave decent trade prices at the time. I remember Saints Row 2, we did a midnight launch, and I bought the special edition, you know, with a gun and the bullet and everything, and the bullet was a USB. It was a pretty cool special edition, but that's not the point. At midnight, we did a midnight opening, we sold the game, and I remember one particular customer bought it, went home, I worked the next day, came in at like 10 or whatever, and the guy came in that afternoon and traded it in. And it wasn't because he didn't like it, he'd played it all night, had a couple of hours sleep, brought it in and traded it in. I think he got like 25. This game would have cost him 40. So he had £25 credit. I don't know what he did with it, I can't remember. But we then put that game on sale for $37.99. The game retailed at $39.99. You literally saved £2. I always remember thinking at the time, like, who realistically is going to be like, oh yeah, go on, I'll have it, I'll save £2. Most people did. Yeah, whatever, it's fine. If the disc is in good condition, I don't care. Yeah, it's fine. And I think we sold it that very day, and it was just £2 off. But the difference in profit there would have been massive. So how Game can possibly sustain just new products is beyond me. And who is going to Game to buy a plush? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure people do, but for me, the big draw of a video game store is video games. And if I can buy a new video game on Amazon cheaper than I can in Game, and I can't offset the price in Game by trading something in, what is the point? There is obviously a reason why they're doing this. The reason is not stated. Eurogamer reached out to Game and asked why, and they didn't get a reply. I'm honestly wondering at this point if it's a move to close the retailer. The sad thing here is that Game had every single opportunity to be a success and just turn their nose up at it every single time. You literally have to look no further than CEX to realize that this business model is viable. I don't know the profit margins of CEX, I don't know how well the company's doing in general, but they are continuing to open stores. I very rarely see them close a store, and if they do, it's because they're moving to bigger premises or they're relocating. It's not because we need to close it, it's not profitable. And the confusing thing there is, of course, that CEX deal in an awful lot of the same products that Game did once upon a time. I mean, they have phones and tablets and video games, but of course, there's a little bit more to it. CEX go way, way further back in the chain of video games, all the way back to... I don't know what the limit is in CEX. Like, I don't think you can go in and trade in Commodore 64 stuff, but, you know, they go back to, like, NES, for example. That's a long way. Game would never. And, of course, they do Blu-ray and 4K and DVD even, which I'm thinking that might be coming to an end as far as CEX are concerned. I mean, they have got rows of DVDs. How many do you really think they sell? I don't think I've ever seen anyone ever buy a DVD. I might be wrong. Point is, of course, CEX are thriving and Game are not. So why haven't Game gone in the same direction as CEX by opening it up to, we are now going to just buy anything and everything. Retro is the way forward. Physical media isn't dead. People still want these. People will trade in. Let's offer good trade prices. Yes, we'll take phones, tablets and games consoles second hand, and we'll offer decent prices for them. They could quite literally have been a focused CEX type store. So they're not going to do DVD, maybe they don't do Blu-ray and 4K, and they just focus on the games. And yes, they can still stock new, because it's really nice to be able to go and buy a new physical game from a retailer, but then if they offered a wide range of second-hand goods, and they gave good trade prices on top of that, they don't even need to offer cash, in my opinion, although they can do, and they could even offer a little bit less, and then they could make even more money from it. And I'm not a businessman in that sense. I don't know why they've not done that, and then there must be a reason why they haven't, but surely that was a much better direction to go in than what has happened here. It's over. I genuinely give them 6 months from this point. If they are still open in 6 months, just wow, miraculous. The really strange thing is, why go to all that trouble of closing the stores and then relocating them to the back of Sports Direct to then just close them 6 months later anyway? I know a lot of people don't go to Game these days for pre-owned because it is such a sad affair, but at the same time, are you actually going out of your way to buy new games in-game? I mean, they do have some decent offers every now and again, to be fair to them, so there will still absolutely be a reason to pop in every now and again, but it's not going to be a, oh, let's go to Game. It's going to be, oh, do you want to have a quick look, or nah, not today, not bothered. That kind of situation, which is obviously not great. Let me know what you think of the sad state of affairs when it comes to video games on the high street. I have pushed this video forward. I do have a series video coming very, very soon. If you want to check out one from that series, you can click here, and until the next time, goodbye.